see a Danielle from California. Hi, Danielle. Awesome. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and introduce the project. So today we're making a puffy star pendant. And how it's made is you create 2 pieces of Superduo, kind of star-shaped bowls, and stitch them together and then run a chain through it. And you can make any colors you'd like. I have one here that I made this morning that's kind of a purple and copper. And I have one really fun design in some turquoise and purple and blue. Really nice colors. A solid blue on the back. So it can be made reversible if you'd like. It can be on ball chain, it can be on leather, it can be on suede. And I actually brought up a few options I'll show you guys that I picked up when I was last at Michael's for stringing your pendant onto. So let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and switch down to my other camera so you guys can see more of the project. There we go. And so we are using Superduo beads today. The pattern calls out for 2 colors, but you can do a solid color if you'd like. Here's what a solid color might look like. We also have size 6 seed beads that go on the side here. And then size 10 seed beads, so the turquoise label. And you'll need those for this part, which is this little space between the Superduo beads. But to get started, all we need are just the Superduo beads, some thread. I'm using the Wildfire .006. And I'm using a size 10 hard beading needle. Okay, so I'm just gonna dive in. I will make this project 2 times. It's a quick make, so you'll get to see how it's made once, and we'll go through it one more time. Just getting the cap off that. There we go. Okay. So starting with that color. And there is a class handout, and in that handout it says to cut about 36 inches of thread. You'll be able to make both sides of the pendant with that 36 inches. To cut my thread, I'm using precision scissors. You can use whatever you guys have on hand, thread snips or your favorite, even embroidery scissors would work. This thread is pretty easy to cut. And again, these are size 10 hard beading needles. And I wanted to say also, if you have size 12s and want to try it, feel free to try a size 12 needle. If you can get it threaded easily, it works great through Superduos. And what I'm doing right now is I'm flattening the end of the Wildfire thread so that it's easier to get it through the needle. Go ahead and thread it. And it makes it a lot easier to thread if you flatten it. I'm gonna pull it down about 7 inches or so. Let's fold over. And this is worked on a single strand. I'm gonna leave about a 7-inch tail. So hopefully about the width of my bead mat there. The height of my bead mat, sorry. And I'm gonna pick up 5 Superduo beads. Okay. So starting with 5, bring those down to about 7 inches from the bottom of the thread. And now go back through all 5 of those in the same hole that your thread is currently going through. And go ahead and pull the needle through, all the thread through. And you'll notice that when you do that, it will almost close, but not quite. See how it's kind of, so it helps to get it to form a circle. Go through one more bead. Okay. There we go. And now when you pull, it should make, it looks a lot like a little star shape. So now the next thing I'm going to do is just go through all of these beads again and exit the same place that I'm exiting now. And that's just to give it tension and tighten it up. So I'm going to go through as many as it'll let me. I just went through two beads there. And the next one more. And now I want to go through the one that the tail is exiting. Okay, I'm going to pull here so that I'm pulling on the tail on the working thread so that it's nice and tight. Okay, and so the next step is to turn and go through the top hole of the Superduo that your working thread is exiting from. So turn and go through that top hole. And I'm not pulling too tightly for that because I don't want to warp the work I did over here. So I just gently did that. And now I'm going to pick up 2 new Superduos and go through the top hole of that next Superduo. I'm going to get the tail out of the way. This is my tail thread I'm pulling down here just so you see that. Okay, so there's 2 Superduos. Went through the top hole of the next Superduo. I'm going to repeat that all the way around. And pick up 2 more. And go through the next top hole. And if they try to spin like that, just help them so that they sit in a V shape. There we go. And 2 more. Mm-hmm. 2 more here. And these are the last 2. So now I'm going to go through the top hole of that last Superduo, but I'm going to continue through the next one, which is the bottom hole of that first one we added in this row. So you can see where I'm exiting here. I'm going to go through a few more just to make sure that it's tight. So I just went through the next 3. Let me go through those. And I feel like it's sturdy enough, I'll go ahead and add the next row. If you feel like these are loose, you can go all the way around again. But I find that what's actually loose is just the first ones that I added. So I go through one, maybe the next set, and it's usually fine. Also, I'm exiting in between one of the V's of the 2 that were added and not in between. You can see the geometry here. There's this open V versus this little gap. I'm exiting from one of the open V's, and now I'm going to turn and go through the top hole. It's not essential that you exit from there, but I think it's easier to go do the next step this way, so you can remember how many to add. So for this next step, we're going to put, there's going to be a variation of 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. The 2s are going to go in the V, I believe. And I'm going to just double check over here and make sure I've got that right. But let me show you. So the 2 new ones are going to go in the V. So you have these V's stacked, and then the single is going to go in between them. And I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, so here's my new color. And I'm exiting from one of the V's and then at one of the in-between places. So I'm just going to add 1. Go through this next one here. Now I'm going to pick up 2. And go through the next hole. And so we're just going to continue that pattern all the way around. So this next is 1, just 1 Superduo. And then 2 more. And 1. And 2 more here. These are really gorgeous colors. This is like a matte copper and a matte purple. Two, and then 1. And I just got 2 more to go after that. I got 2 here. Okay, so now I'm going back through my original. This is that original one I started. I'm going to continue and go through a few more beads. And that's just to tighten it up a little bit. And at this point, it's not really essential, but if you feel like going through a few more, I feel like it helps stabilize the work a little bit. Okay, so I'm exiting from inside one of these V's. I'm going to turn and go through the top hole. Okay. And so now we're going to start adding beads. And the way this is built is you're going to put a large size 6 seed bead in between each of the V's. And in between each of the little spokes here, there's just going to be a size 10 seed bead. If you're using 11s, if you don't have the 10s handy, I believe that'll work too. It'll be tighter. You'll have a, what happens when you make this stitch next is it forms a bowl shape like this. You see how it starts to tighten and make like a little bowl? That happens at this step when we start to make the small beads connect. It just brings it up. If you're using 11s, it's really going to dome, but I think it'll work. So if that's what you have handy, try it. But the 10s are what I'm using here. And here's my 6s. I'm using a mix called Amber, my favorite mix. It's this one. All right, so I'm exiting from one that is next to a V. So the 6 I was going to go here, so I'm going to add a 10. That's my next bead in the line here. So add a 10. And now's the time when we're going to start using a little more tension. Not like really making it tight, but just enough that you start to see that bowl shape begin to form. Pick up a kind of purplish bead here. This is a 6, and this is one of the V's. So we're putting a 6 into one of the V's. And 2 more 10s. So a 10 here, a single 10 here, and a single 10 in the next space. So the pattern is 6, 10, 10, 6, 10, 10, all the way around. Here's that one. Oops. There we go. Another 10. So see what's happening? It's starting to make it kind of a 3D, I guess, shape there. And what we're going to do at the next step, just in case there's anyone working and they've gotten around already, we're going to go through again, the whole thing all the way around to really make that dome pop. Okay, another 6. A few more 10s here. Okay, and I'm to my last 6. I'll find this nice purple one. Now I'm going to go through as many as it'll let me. I'm going through all these beads here. And watch what happens when we do that. Now it's really making a bowl. You can see it more from the side. Oops. Okay, I'm going to through all those. Go through the next ones. And the way to remember, so you know when you've gotten back to the first one, if you're like me and I always lose count, you'll be able to see on the side of your 6 that there's just a single strand versus 2. And when you see 2 there, you know you made it all the way around. Okay, going through that one, and let's see. I have 2 there? I have 2 there, okay. So go through one more and it'll start to get tight. See how it's, I've got to work a little harder to get that through. I'm going to exit from that 6. And now I'm going to knot. Yes, I'm going to knot, guys. But it's only because there's just not a lot of real estate to weave into, and it's such a quick make that if I had to remake it for some reason, I could do that. But normally I would prefer weaving it, and it's just for this one. I exited from a Superduo, and then I went with my needle underneath all the threads that are in between the Superduo and the next 10. And I'm going to pull through until I have a loop. I'm going to go through that loop. That's a 1/2 inch knot. I tied 1. I'm going to go through the next 10, and then through the next Superduo bead and try to exit just outside that next Superduo. So like that. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. I went under the thread that's in between that Superduo and the 10. Pull until I have a small loop, go through that loop, pull tight. So there's 2 1/2 inch knots. If you want, you can do 3. You can do another one here at the outside of that Superduo, but it's actually pretty good. I feel like it works. So I'm going to trim that and set that one aside. And then I'm going to grab another needle and I'm going to thread this tail thread. Here's our tail thread from when we made step 1, that first 5, Superduo beads. What I want to do is weave that one in. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring it out to the side. So I'm going to flatten it here. Okay, so flattening the edge of the wildfire, that's what I'm doing there. Getting it through the needle. Pull, fold over. Okay. And kind of paying attention to where it's exiting. It's exiting here and it's headed in that direction. So I'm going to keep going through there. I'm going to turn. I'm going to try to go through these 2, if it'll let me. If not, nope, there it goes. If not, I would do that one by one, but go through one more here. There we go. I went through one more Superduo. And I'm going to turn, change directions, go through the top hole of that same Superduo. You see what I'm doing is I'm weaving down because I want to exit the same spot. There we go. And if it's one of the ones you already have a knot in, it will not go through. So if you reach that, go through the next one. There we go. And actually, you could just trim it right here. I just want to show in case anyone wants to see how to get down there for that knot. I went through one too many there. Okay. I'd like to go through just that copper one. All right. So you see the work's getting pretty tight, but that's good because that means it's holding its shape really nicely. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to turn and go through the top hole of that same Superduo, this copper one here. See through the top hole there. And same thing as before, we're just going to come underneath, make a knot, and you guys get the idea. Now it's all set. Okay. Go through the next 10. And I'm gonna go ahead and trim it because it was a lot of weaving in and a good 1/2 inch knot there, and I feel like that will do it. So there we go. Side 1 is finished. We're gonna set this aside for now, and we're gonna make one more section that looks like that. And this is a chance to get to see steps 1 through, I think it's 3, steps 1 through 3 again. So I'm going to pick up 5 Superduos here. Pull down 7-inch tail or so. Go back through the first Superduo bead and pull until I get a star shape. And now go through all those beads again, going through the lower hole, the same hole that the current thread is going through. Okay. One more. All right. So that's a pretty solid star shape. I'm going to turn and go through the top hole of the bead that my thread is exiting. Okay. And now pick up 2 new Superduo beads and go through the next top hole and just kind of move that tail thread out of the way there. Okay. Pick up 2 more. Yeah, so this second row is just 2 in between each of the V's. And now I'm going to keep going through the next Superduo bead. Get the tail out of the way. And go through a few more just to tighten it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so exiting from the bottom hole of one of the V's, the Superduos here, I'm going to turn and go through the top hole of that same Superduo. And now I'm in the right spot to add the next one. So just like before, we're going to put a V where a V is and a single Superduo where there's not a V. So there's 1. Now I'm going to add 2 more. Seems like everybody's getting it. No questions yet that I've seen. Okay, through the next one here, just adding 1. You guys see that gold bead? He keeps walking over. He's like, I want to go there. Maybe I'll use gold this time. Okay. Oops. There's a tight fit there. 1. Gonna add 2 more. Oh, so I'm not actually securing the center. I'm leaving it loose right now. I just went through all the beads twice. So the center's just a loose tail right now, and we'll weave it in before we connect the 2 pieces. You could, if you wanted to, you could weave it in a step ago. That would be totally great to do, actually. I'm always too excited to make the first, section. Okay. One more. And the last 2. Okay, so with the last 2, keep going through all 3 of those, even the 4th one. So I'm going through the next 4 Superduos here in a row as they stack. I think I'll go through a few more because it is a little bit loose. Okay, so there we are. And that is all you really have to do for this part. I'm gonna thread a needle now on this tail, the tail thread for this piece, and weave it in. But I'm not going to weave in this other working thread that we were just using because we're gonna use that to connect the 2 pieces. So there, I'm just threading. I flatten the wildfire, get it to go through. Okay. All right, so just paying attention to where it's exiting and what direction I'm headed. I'm gonna go through the next bead here. I'm gonna turn, go through the next few. There's no set way to do this, just kind of weave around however you want to, just wherever it lets you weave to. The Superduos do, they tend to get tight after a couple passes. So I'm gonna exit from here. And I don't have any seed beads right now, I've just got Superduos, but I know for my next steps that I don't have to go through these bottom holes again. I know I'm good for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a 1/2 inch knot in between one of these beads. So just whenever you're gonna knot, just be cognizant of, am I gonna need to get another thread passed through there? And if the answer is, I don't know, not there. But if you're pretty sure that you're done with this part, then you can do some knotting. So I'm gonna do a knot. I did 1 there, and I'm gonna do 1 more. I'm going under the thread that's passing between those 2 beads, going through the loop, and just pulling. So now I'm gonna go through 1 more bead, and I'm gonna trim this tail. And that should do it. Okay, the tail's gone. And so now the really fun part. Okay, so you're gonna, no more Superduos are needed. You're gonna need size 10s and size 6s. And both pieces that you made. So starting with, I'm exiting this bottom hole. I'm gonna turn and go through the top hole. And now I'm gonna pick up a 10 and go through the next 10. Sorry guys, I'm gonna get these out of the way a little bit. Okay, and pick up another 10 and go through that. Okay, so normally I would pick up a 6 here and go through that, but I'm gonna borrow the 6 on my other side. So go through that 6. And now go through the top hole of that Superduo, the next one in the V. And so it should form kind of a little lid, I guess you could say, like it's like a little lid. And so now I'm going to pick up another 10 and go through the next one here. And 1 more 10. And at this point, I need to connect that 6 with this V. So to do that, I'm going to have to fold it over now. And so from here on out, we're going to be working with it kind of sandwiched a little bit. So go through this next one, the next 6, sorry, and then through the top hole of the next Superduo in that V. And it looks like I might have crossed my thread a little bit there. There we go. So exiting that 6 and now going through the top hole of the next Superduo there. You'll see it start to it'll form its own dome shape as we go around. So I'm picking up another 10, going through the next Superduo, and one more 10. Go through the next Superduo. Now go through that 6. And through the next Superduo. Another 10. One more 10. And through the 6. Next Superduo. Okay. And then just 2 more 10s here. One here. And through the next. Okay. Then through the 6. And we're going to go through this next one here, and we're going to go all the way around. Before I do that, I'm going to come back out of the 6. I wanted to show you guys something really quick. So what are you going to use for your chain? If you're going to use something that does not easily maneuver, go ahead and put your chain on before we seal it up. If you're going to use ball chain, don't worry about it. I've had no trouble getting ball chain through. Show you what I mean here. On this one, what I do is I just kind of bunch the ball chain in there until I see it, and then I use some needle nose pliers or chain nose pliers to pull them out. But if you don't want to deal with that, or you're using something thick, and some examples of something thick would be like this. When I made this one, I put the lace in before I sealed it because the suede is really thick, and so getting it through was, you could, I mean, if you sealed it up, you could probably still get that through, but it's just good to think about some other options. The ball chain I'm using is right here. It's bead landing, I think it's, there's no dimensioning on it, but it looks like a 1 millimeter kind of ball there. So here's another option you could try. It's just leather cord. It already comes with the clasp on it. My thinking on the clasp is, hey, I got to get through that clasp. So I got to get the clasp through this. That might not be easy to do. So in that case, I will go ahead and, I think I'm going to show you guys that actually. Let's open this up really quick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this through here. And I'm going to pick up the 6, go through that 6. Now I'm going to go through the next Superduo bead and continue through as many of those 10s and Superduos as I can. In this case, I was able to get through all of them. And go ahead and pull. And there you go. So it's almost done. I've got the chain in there. Don't have to worry about putting that in later. Or the leather in this case. And now I'm going to just tighten it up. I'm going to go through the 6. Because you see, it's loose right there. The Superduo is not connecting tightly. But it will tighten up a lot on one more pass. Let's go through once more. And that's all. I go through here. So I just went through all the beads in that row. So the Superduos, the 10s, going through the 6 here. And I don't know how easy it is to see, but it's very tight now. It's almost hard to tell apart which side I did first. So that's great. That's what we want. I go through this one more time. One more through there. Okay, and now we're back where we started. So now just pick one. Weave through whichever one you think looks looser. I feel like this side could use another pass. I'm going to go through those first 2. And I'm just going to do that same thing that I did before with a 1/2 inch knot. So underneath, find the loop, and pull. Go through the next beads here. I went through the 10, the Superduo, and the 6. I'm gonna keep going. Go through another Superduo here. Okay, and another knot. I'll probably do one more knot because this is a kind of important spot. Okay, through exiting from another Superduo here. Pick up that thread. One more knot. All right, so go through the 6, scissors, pushing down with the scissors, pulling up with the thread. Trim. There you go. Very easy. Something that I thought of after I made the first one was, if you had like a beach rock or something, you wouldn't be able to see it, but you could hide like a little totem in there. And as long as it's large enough not to fall through these kind of side holes, it could be carried around with you. My son brings me lots of little rocks, so I thought, well, I'll put one of his rocks in there. So I do have another piece ready to go. I figured this would be a great time for questions, and then I'll go through sealing it one more time. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll answer them for you. But I'm gonna get started. I'll do this one on ball chain so you guys can see that. So here's where we left off before we had a tail we needed to weave in, and we'd finished those first 3 rows. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and thread this one on a needle. This is my tail thread from my second side.
Hi, Danielle, it's Carmi.
Hey.
I just want to let you know that your class is really following along and there aren't as many questions. So your instructions are clearly making sense and they are noticing it does look like a snowflake. So we have enough time, and 1 or 2 people would love it if you would do what you're doing right now, which is to show it one more time.
Great, yeah. So
the joining the 2 pieces is probably the hardest part. So thank you.
Yeah, great. So I'll go through that really quick here. So I've got this is my tail thread. It's exiting from that first center, set of 5 that we made. And so I'm just going to go through another bead. And I'm going to turn and go through the top hole of that same bead, maybe continue through the next. And keep going there. And I'm going to turn and go through this row. So see, I'm turning and going through that top hole. And then, as I was saying in the last one, I know I won't need to get a needle through this connection area anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and knot in these places by going underneath the thread, coming through a loop, pull tight, and go through a few more Superduos. I'm kind of knotting at the base ones, not on the V's, if that makes any sense, just because they tend to be more sturdy. Go through there. Go through one more. And then I'm going to trim this tail. There you go. Okay. And so coming back to my working thread, the tail's gone, we wove that in. I'm exiting from the last, the hole that's on the inside ring here of the last Superduo bead that we strung. I'm going to turn and go through the top hole of that bead. So that puts me out in the outside row. And the pattern down here is 10, 10, 6, 10, 10, 6. And we're going to borrow the 6 from the first side. So I'll pick up a 10 here. And I'll pick up another 10. Go through this way. And now I'm going to use the 6 from the lid. Let's go through that one. and then go through the top hole of the next Superduo in that V shape. Just going through that one. And now they're connected. So I'm going to go through, add one more 10 here. So now I'm just continuing around. Go through this way. Okay, so now the next one I want to connect is this 6. So I'll go through that direction. And when I do that, it's going to go ahead and pull it closed on that side. And I'll go through the next Superduo. So you guys can see what I'm doing here. I've got those 2 V's and now sharing that same 6. And yeah, these are around 60 beads. Okay, I'm adding a 10. You know, and as I'm working through these, going through the next 6 here, I started to think of, well, what if I tried this or that? And I saw a question of, oh, can I try this bead? I'd say, yeah, definitely. Try every idea you have, because that's, you know, that's how these things are, that's how you come up with this stuff. And I had no idea what I was doing. When I first made this, I had a different idea in mind entirely, and it ended up being rounded by accident. And I'm like, oh, it makes a bowl. What can I do with that? Because I didn't actually strive to do that. It was completely accidental, to be totally honest. But they're like, hey, I can work with that. I like it. So yeah, try your ideas. Definitely try them. You never know what you will get. Something great will come of it. And go through the next Superduo here. And I'm going to pick up more 10s. So it's just the same pattern, you know, that we did on that first side. But in this case, we're just borrowing the 6. So now I'm back at this spot. And I'm thinking if there's time, I can show you guys either putting the ball chain in now and stitching it closed, or well, actually I've got this one to show you. So we'll see if there's time at the end, but I'm going to grab another ball chain. It is possible to get the chain through it once it's already made. But you'll probably end up using some pliers to do that. But another way to do it that I think is just a lot easier is to go ahead and put the chain in now. I'm just laying it in there. I'm going to go through the 6 and go through the next Superduo. And now I just continued through all those beads again. The ones that are next in, you know, in the row. And there you go. That's connected here. And I'll just keep going around. Yeah, and so I saw Roxanne's question there about the 11s. Yeah, 11s will make it dome more. That's kind of my guess. I didn't try 11s yet, to be totally honest, but just looking at the structure here, what it would do is it would make all those beads pull together tighter, which is just gonna make that dome taller. And you can try it and send a picture. I'd love to see how it comes out. And so all I'm doing right now is I'm going all the way around the piece again in the place where, you know, where I added the new side, because if you can see from here, this is the top and you can see how tight that 6 is sitting in there, but it's really loose over here. The second pass will not only fix that, but it'll make the back dome up more so that it matches the front. So, and it'll become sort of tight as you're pulling through, but just go ahead and, you know, just if you need to use chainless pliers on the needle, that's okay. Okay, going through those. And I'm back where I started, the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Oops, there we go. Go through one more Superduo. And this was the top 6 again. I'm going to go through the 6 again. And now you can go through this side or this side. It doesn't matter. I'll probably go through this side. Exiting from a Superduo. I'll pull through. And go under the thread here. Tie a knot. Go through the 10, the next Superduo. And then the same thing, I'm going to go under the thread, pull till there's a small loop, go through that loop, make a small knot. And do that one more time. And I know this knot will hold because it's almost impossible to get that needle through there. There we go. Okay. I'm going to go through that 10 and trim. And there you go. There's another stocking stuffer completed, or birthday gift. You can make Halloween colors. I also had another idea with this design that would be kind of cool. And because, so here we're through the top, this is almost kind of like a guru bead. You think about it, like you've got both sides here, and then a single hole here at the bottom that you could pull something through. And so I didn't do that with this one, but if the chain came down here, you could hang a charm on it. You could also bring 2 cords through and have a tassel at the bottom. But yeah, it's versatile. It could become a great many things. It could even become a bracelet, make a bunch of them, and then stack them like a bracelet. So I'd love to see what all of you guys make. It'd be really cool to see your ideas.
Danielle, it's Carmi.
Hey.
A question you received from someone was, what would you charge if you had this in a craft show?
Okay, so depending on what country you're in, these tubes go for about between $7 and $8, I think. And these tubes, about $4. So speaking in US dollars, your pricing should be about, I don't know, I have a formula that I work my cost of packaging into and things like that, but at least 3 times what you paid in materials. Now, given that you can probably make a kabillion of these with these tubes of beads. Like if you had just these 4 tubes, you could probably make, I don't even know how many, a lot. You could make a lot of these. They don't use very many Superduos, and there's 22 grams in here. So, gosh, if I had to just throw a number out there though, I would say $35 to $40 probably for one of these guys. The this is another cost you'd have to take into account. It's what you spent on either your ball chain or your leather or whatever. Okay. Any other questions?
No, you're doing great for time. So one of the questions you have is, would you do anything such as add 2 size 11 beads in each instead of the 1? Like what would happen?
Let me think about that. So let's see, when we made the fans, and I made one with 11s and I made one with 10s. Well, so 2 11s would make this wider than 1 10. So it would be flatter. It would look a little bit flatter. It would still work. But instead of having it look like almost like a ball or a dome, it would be a little bit flatter.
Thank you. And what if you wanted to make a bracelet? How would you connect 3 or 4 of these? What would be your thoughts?
Let's see. I would start with some bead stringing wire. That would be my first idea. And then I would put a rondelle between each one and a spacer, some kind of spacer like a heishi or something 6 millimeter-ish between each one. And then string just beads on the side. So it would be like, say, a pop of 3 of them, maybe. We do like 1, 2, and 3 with heishis and 6 millimeter rondelle in between each one, and then rondelles out the side.
And someone would like to know the mixture of the 6O beads that you're using. What was the name again?
Oh, this is beautiful. This is amber. And I have the SKU for it here. Let me get that for you guys. It is amber. It's okay. So if you type this into the app or the search engine on michaels.com, type in 106 27 185, and you'll get the amber mix.
Danielle, a couple people missed one of the series, one of the classes. So maybe you have just a few minutes left. Maybe you can just remind people what the first 3 classes were, what your final class is, and of course they're all recorded to watch.
They are. They're all recorded. So we did a Superduo fan necklace. This was last week. And then after class, I was finishing the samples, as I like to finish the samples I start here, and I was just kind of playing. And I'm like, how cool, what if we put the chain through the center? And then that somehow became a bracelet. So it started as a necklace, and then we decided, gosh, that's awesome as a bracelet. So you can find, if you go to michaels.com/classes and you go through the video, you'll have to browse through the videos, but it was last Tuesday. You find that, and then in that YouTube feed, Michaels has posted both the PDFs, including the addendum we did to show the bracelet version. So there's 2 there. And then we did earrings the week before that. So Tuesday, before last Tuesday. Sorry, the dates have slipped my mind. But this is the earring. This is the triple decker fan version of our fan Superduo earrings. Really fun design. There's a 2-stack version, and then the one that we taught in class was just a single fan. And this was a really fun one. There's been some really gorgeous designs posted by lots of students. That have so many gorgeous inspiration colors. So definitely, if you check out, if you're on Instagram, look at the hashtag Make It With Michaels. People have been posting all of their very beautiful designs there, and you'll definitely get some color inspo. Again, this PDF and the class replay are on michaels.com/classes. And if you're free next Tuesday, we're going to do like the finale, which is the button bracelet. And everyone who took this class has an advantage because you've seen my trick for putting 2 pieces together. It's kind of the same thing. We're using different counts, and we're not using any seed beads. We're using only Superduos on that button. It's joined kind of the same way, but with putting Superduo beads on the sides as the link. And then this bracelet is herringbone, and I'll show you guys how to do herringbone with Superduo beads for a really neat kind of, I guess, almost like a stacked basket. Like it looks like a woven basket to me. And this pattern is optional. You can do just a solid color if you'd like to. I just used, this was the apricot mix, and I liked the look of that, so I just kind of extrapolated out over. And that's, this class you'll need size 8, and you will need 1 size 6 seed bead, 2 colors of Superduos, or 1 if you'd like, and either some 11s or some 10s for the hoop here. Yeah.
You're getting many wonderful compliments, Danielle, on another great class. So I think you've got a couple of students that are planning to make a necklace with possibly matching earrings. So
awesome.
Really look forward to seeing some of those samples online.
And I see Loretta is holding up a finished one already. That is awesome. That's so great. I can only see a few people at the top of my screen. I see my mom. Hi, Mom. She's making one right now. That's so cool. Yeah. And I see Loretta's. Yep, that's awesome. And yeah, so next week, oh, and Carmi, should I announce the October stuff?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so October, we are doing Gift-tober. So everyone who would love to join us to make gifts for fall, for all the, you know, the holidays that come up at the end of the year, we're gonna do a bunch of classes. And there's a video that's gonna be launching at, I think it's 7:15 Eastern. It's 4:15 my time. I'm in the Pacific time zone. And one of the projects, I don't have them all in front of me, but one of the ones I have in front of me are these mandala earrings. So I call them starflower mandalas. They're little infinity rounds. Really cool color combinations that you can do with that. And the other one I have in front of me is we're gonna do a peyote charm necklace, which should be really fun. And these are personalizable quick makes. Everything in this series is the theme, being able to personalize it and making it fast, because this is the time of year when you want it to be fast, right? So yeah, I hope we'll see everybody back in next week for the button bracelet. And then of course, check out the October lineup and sign up for those. And thank you for being here today. Have fun creating. Happy creating, everybody.
Thanks, Danielle.